Hi, it's me, Midsummer, and today I'm reviewing the three new comics that WEBTOON are promoting this month. Okay, so for context, WEBTOON is a comic reading app that mainly carries manhwa. And if you don't read manhwa, you might have heard of them because I think it was last year with collaboration with Crunchyroll. They got some of their most popular stuff turned into an anime, although some of them didn't do that well, but that has as much to do with the source material than the adaptation itself. They promote some comics at least once a month or so, and help readers to come across series they'd otherwise never find. And they really do work in that regard, considering that my favorite manhwa of all time, and probably my top 10 favorite comics of all time, Delusion, came from one of these promotions. Please read Delusion. It's so good. I can't talk about it right now because I'll be here for hours and I'll cry. Just read Delusion. Now, sometimes they promote older comics that didn't exactly get their dues, or new comics that show promise, or ones that are done by like returning authors. But regardless, they always follow a theme, and this month's theme was role reversal. Alright, this is how this review is going to work. I'm going to talk about these three comics in the order of which they appear on the screen, from left to right. Then going off the first 5 chapters, I say 5 chapters because that's usually how long it takes webtoon comics to get their premise across. And I'll give a spoiler review that details the premise of each comic as well as the good and bad of each of them. Then, at the end of the video, I'll award a star to one comic I'm looking forward to reading out of the bunch. Because, spoiler, I'll be reading all of these so I can review them in the future. Only difference is that some I'll be reading like this, and others like this. Okay, looking back, I just realized I scripted this video from right to left instead of left to right. Like, that was such a simple... How did I mess that up? Anyway, whatever. Alright, the first story is called... Spoilers. She's not. Alright, the story follows Taeung, our protagonist, who is whisked away from his existing school and subsequently life in order to serve as a bodyguard for Gavin, the person who the story revolves around. He's been called to be her bodyguard because Gavin is being bullied in this new school she's in, and the school doesn't allow bodyguards to follow students around, you know. That's normal. Anyway, he's given a set of rules like you can't tell anybody about this job, she can't find out that you're her bodyguard, blah blah blah. It honestly doesn't matter. And off he goes to this new school after being persuaded, only for him to find out that, oh, she doesn't need no help. She fight back. Also, I just realized I'd be calling her Gavin instead of Gabin. I don't know how the fuck I made that mistake, but okay. The bad. As a rule of thumb, I'm gonna start with the bad because I like to end on a positive note. Alrighty. Tonally, this manhwa can be all over the place. Sometimes it gets real serious in its depictions of bullying and the general toxic relationship between Gabin and her grandmother. And then other times it's just so slapstick in its humor. Like, you're someone's getting bullied, you know, bullying is a bad thing. And all of a sudden a chair is being hurled halfway across the room at a bitch's face. You know, it's a bit jarring. Although I'd be lying if I said I didn't like the comedy here. I do just wish that the manhwa would hone in on one tone specifically. I know it's not compulsory, but that's just preference. If you want to be funny in the fights, have Taehyung do some mad leg moves and sleep a bitch, like, you know, something. Also, am I supposed to believe that everyone in the school just absolutely despises her? I can completely understand that the leeches and other dickheads not liking her, but come on, you can't hold beef with everyone. And like, what are the teachers doing about it? I know in real life teachers don't do anything most of the time when it comes to bullying, but like, come on, give me something. Also, there's this scene when Taehyung gets real mad at one of his comedic relief side character buddies. Like, it's a different kind of anger. It sticks out like a sore thumb because it doesn't match his character, like, at all. Like, it gave me whiplash with how out of left field it was. And it doesn't work for multiple reasons. Like I already said, it doesn't match his character, like, at all. It was like I was looking at someone else in Taehyung's body. That's how jarring it was. Too, why is it done at someone who becomes his friend and not like the main bad bully? You'd think if you'd see it, it would be to that person. 3, it's never, I think it's commented on once when someone like, oh, what was that from him? And then it's just dropped. I'm sorry, you don't bring something like that and just not talk about it again. It's like the elephant in the room, but no one ever addresses it, you know? Okay, the good. I'll start from the gooder to the goodest. That's not English. That's not right. Whatever. The comedy, it works. Now I know comedy is subjective and blah blah blah, but this shit is good. It got a good chuckle out of me multiple times, and I believe that that has to do with you not expecting the comedy and being so surprised when it rears its head, which is weird because I'm kind of contradicting myself when I said I didn't like how shifty the tone is, but then the comedy works because of that. I don't know. The premise slash story is decently compelling. It definitely makes you wonder what exactly caused everyone to really start to bully her, and how bad her family life is, and if the story is inevitably going to become a rom-com, because as a professor of all things rom-coms and a professionally diagnosed hopeless romantic, I can smell it. The next good thing is the characters, specifically the main characters, because every other character in this feels like a stereotype slash plot device, if I'm being honest. So yeah, Taeyong and Gavin are extremely comparing characters for such different reasons. On one hand, you have Taeyong, who's only doing this because his mom really needs the money. She owed some loan shark mobsters, I think, yeah. And he was desperate to do whatever it took to get her out of debt. I really like that, cause at first he doesn't even take the bodyguard job. He's like, nope, I will not uproot my life just to go protect some girl I don't even know. And they're like, okay, we'll pay you. And he's like, oh, hell yeah, why did you start with that? Bro straight up refuses until they offer him compensation. So yeah, I'm rooting for this fish that's so clearly out of water here. Or actually, I think leech would suit him better. On the other hand, you have Gabin, a no-nonsense, strong, independent filmer character, which is a recurring theme in these promoted books. So yes, give me more of that. Who is, in all honesty, a bit of a bitch, but she's justified. It becomes clear that everyone in her life, apart from Lil Miss Protector Lady over here, who I'm calling right now, is the only good sort of parental figure in her life, views her as more of this entity to fulfill their wishes rather than an actual person with feelings. I mean, her grandmother treats her like this thing to reflect and carry on her legacy rather than this human being with their own ambitions and flaws. Side note, during that dinner scene that establishes the toxic relationship, I didn't really feel it. That's more of an issue with me because I was going to the comments and everybody was talking about it, like how good it worked for them. But because of my upbringing and the country I hail from, doing that, being that rude, would have got me a lot more than a slap. I would have gotten my ass beat. And I have for much less shit. So, you know, is what it is. And then you have our classmates, even the passerbys in the first page see her as her family name and the money she has before they actually see her as a person. Which is why when not Gavin, Taeyong says that he likes her, she's so utterly confused by the concept of somebody liking her because of her and her looks. Like, liking somebody strictly because of their looks is a whole thing in and of itself without even knowing the person. I know, attraction, please don't. But like, yeah, she takes that and can't believe it. Her classmates are all essentially just leeches who are using the guise of friendship in order to get close when all they really want is to have an incredibly rich person in their back pockets. And if that description sounds incredibly familiar, it's because it is. And yeah, I am excited to see how the relationship between the two characters evolves in the future, because on one hand, Gavin is definitely gonna start getting feelings for Taeung, but Taeung is like this calculated, cold-blooded guy that just wants the money. They're probably gonna have this liar reveal thing, and then Ludi Lala, you lied to me, is gonna, they're gonna end up together. I've seen the script. I know how this ends. So yeah, Taeyong is this leech that Gavin so particularly despises, and unfortunately for Gavin, it's latched onto her without her being none the wiser. Forever After tells a story about Robin, who, as she puts it, doesn't just want to be a princess, but needs to be one. This inconsiderate potty mouthed piece of shit is obsessed with the idea that is the lifestyle princesses live, specifically the crazy amounts of wealth they're born into and how everyone is giving and how everything is given to them easily. And it's like, did you even read the same stories I did? Because that's not what they were about, but more on that later. Anyway, in the beginning of the comic, Robin is on the date with this guy. We're shown aspects of her character, a la she's a self-absorbed, self-aware asshole who doesn't care about anything but herself. And instantly my face begins to change because I know what kind of main character I'm going to have to put up with. Again, more on that later. So, she is shown to be a terrible date person, general thing. You know, the kind that make you ask, why exactly do I spend time with you? But hey, it's okay, because her date is an also equally terrible person, so fairs, I guess. Anyway, the guy drops her off, and we are once again reminded of the less than ideal condition her and her family live in. But whoop-de-doo, she enters her room, and that shit screams expensive. So you start to wonder, has she been spiraling her parents into further debt to maintain this unnecessarily expensive lifestyle? Does she have any real friends or people who puts up with her because they see something under the rubble of shit that is her personality? And how is she going to overcome this terrible mindset? Is she or someone else in her life going to make her pay attention to the stories she claims she loves and open her eyes to the fact that most, if not all, these princesses went through egregious amounts of hardship? No, none of that is answered. The story just takes all of that potential, rolls it to a ball, and flushes it down the toilet. I think from my tone you can tell that I don't like the story very much. But whatever. The bad and the good. Alright, the bad. For starters, the story thinks it's a lot smarter than it actually is. And Lord knows it's not. It really isn't. There's this segment, I think it's in chapter 3, when they enter a world, a new fairy world, in which the story's title isn't expressly laid out there. And obviously Robin figures it out. I'd hope she would, because she's built her entire personality around this stuff. And her little comedic relief side character, it's like, oh, how do you figure that out? Ooh, it wasn't even there. But like, it's obvious because it just is. You need to read it to kind of get where I'm going at. And it's like, oh, that part of the story you're mentioning is only in the Disney versions. This is the original Grimm Tales, whatever. Ugh. Like, shut up. Like, just shut up. It reeks of old is better because it's old. I mean, she never gives us a reason as to why she prefers the original the original versions of the tale. So that's what I'm going off of. But worst of all, it doesn't reinforce that she's supposed to be this avid princess know-it-all. Because if you had an ounce of critical thinking, you would have seen that these stories are so much more than what you give them credit for. Now, I'm not gonna go over examples of how she's wrong in this because, Cinderella, for example, it's there. It's not hidden. It's not hard to see. It's right there. But whatever, because believe it or not, the very construct that this story is based upon being false isn't even its biggest flaw. That honor is reserved for Robin, our protagonist, and the one we spend the most time with. Oh, kill me now. Sigh. Robin is everything I hate in a character, and no, it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that she's a piece of shit. Some of my favorite characters are absolute pieces of shit, but it's the fact that I don't see any possible way for her to grow as a character. Here's what I mean. Robin is flawed. Yes, this floor is made out of floor. And obviously, she realizes she has flaws. She's accepted that part of herself and says time and time again how she's flawed and expressly what's wrong with her. But she just chooses not to change because she's so set in her ways. But the whole point of her being set to this magical world is for her to confront those things that are wrong with her and change. But the issue is she already knows what's wrong, and she can probably change if she wants to. She just doesn't. So when you send her to this place where the whole point of it is to make her realize what's wrong with herself, but she already realizes what's wrong with herself, and even though she's going to be proved time and time again that her way of thinking is stupid and sucks, she's not going to change until like the climax of the story, when she maybe confronts a witch or wizard and reflects and is like, oh, I'm a terrible human being or some dumb shit. But it's like, you've known from the very beginning, I'm just waiting for you to change. There was no realization, there was no epiphany, because you've already known. Or maybe she's just going to be stuck in her ways to the end of the story. I'm going to look like a big dum-dum. Whatever. Moving on. The good, because I, believe it or not, do like things about the story. The fairy world, for example, even though I said how much I would have preferred it for it to take place in the real world, modern day and stuff, I still like what's here. The concept of the fates calling upon people who seemingly need to be taught a lesson. I don't know the criteria, it's never really stated clearly. To help princesses is real nice, and the stakes being that failure will result in you being trapped there forever and slowly forgetting parts of yourself till you don't even know where you're from or what your name is. Anyway, those stakes are definitely going to create some wonderful tension if utilized well later in the story. But also, that's a bloody scary concept, and I'm terrified by it, and I love it all at the same time. It's a really pretty comic. The arts works, the saturation, the color palette, the cartoony art style. They really sell the princess fantasy world setting that this story takes place in. It just works to that regard. I'm not the most artsy person. I mean, I'm trying, practicing and stuff, so I can't really, say more than what I said. But yeah, the art works. The character designs, which I guess is also part of the art, are really nice and memorable. Like everyone has something iconic about them, even the little fairy people at the very beginning of the story. And yeah, this comic is really funny. At least 5 times I'm laughing in a chapter. The jokes land. They land really well. I remember I was on the bus one time reading, and like I laughed out loud, and everyone was looking at me, and it was a bit weird. Robin. Yeah, I'm sure that comes as a surprise. Anyway, it's 11:18, 3-4 days later after I scripted and recorded the voices for this video. I've been editing it ever since, and I was going over it, the forever after segment, and I was harsh to Robin. I do think that a lot of my criticisms are still valid, some not as much, and the tone of it was just unnecessarily harsh. So yeah, after rereading over the past few days, and especially this night, I don't completely hate Robin all that much, and I kind of do like her. Okay, let me explain. I completely miss the parts of the story being a retelling of past events. Future Robin talking about past Robin. A lot of my criticisms about her changing, yeah. I mean, it's not that they're not valid anymore, but it's like new insight. Reading, she says, like, I know what's wrong with me, but I don't, it's not that she doesn't know how to change, it's that why would she change? That this is all she's ever been, To abandon this would be for her to be nothing, She can't give up this identity because this identity is her. They are one of the same. It has become her. So I guess that is compelling on its own, Somebody has based themselves off of something that isn't even true. Her idealistic view of princesses is completely false. Again, I still don't know how she managed to come to that conclusion about princesses getting everything easy. But yeah, so she does change, and I don't know if I'm conflicted. I would have wanted her. I would have wanted to see this person keep on chasing what she believes is right over the corner, but isn't actually there. Obsessed with the unattainable per se. But I don't hate Robin anymore. I'm sorry if my thoughts aren't cohesive right now. It's late. I'm tired. But for what it's worth, I'm what's the word? Captivated. Not captivated. I'm interested. I'm intrigued in what she has to offer as a character and how she grows. So yeah. The last story is Hero Killer, which, as you guessed it, is about a hero killer. We follow our main character who's called... Actually, I've been looking for like 20 minutes and I can't find her name mentioned anywhere. I might have missed it, but I swear to God, it's not here. Anyway, we follow this main character girl who strives to enact revenge on a group of heroes because they're responsible for the death of her sister. The heroes in this world, from what we've seen so far, are dickheads. They don't worry about the innocent bystanders who could get hurt as long as they, quote, save the day and are allowed to let loose. And if any of this sounds familiar, it's because it is. It's essentially The Boys. You got a main character who was wronged by heroes who played a part in the death of a loved one. Heroes who are all run by an organized / managed by a company. The hero kicking this all off being a speedster. And then later on, the main character realizes that they're way out of their depth and can't possibly do the shit alone. So they team up with a bunch of villains or convicts in order to take down the main bad group of soups. It's like looking at the fucking mirror. Honestly though, I'm not serious about this. Although the base, like the real simple shit about the concepts of these two stories are similar, they're incredibly different in what they set out to do. Also, stories having similar premises doesn't mean shit. Nothing in the creative industry is original anymore. Get over it. The bad. I can't really think of too much that's bad right now, to be honest, but it's more things that could be very bad in the future. Here's what I mean. The pacing. By chapter 4, our main character is already teamed up with the villains who survived after the villain-hero war, including this boy over here, who is portrayed as like being the strongest villain still around. And the main superhero group is already like alerted to the fact that the villains have had a resurgence, that they're back. You see what I'm saying here? So we've already got a story where it seems like all its chips have been played, which may result in hella filler in the future to stretch it out even more, milk the cow till absolutely nothing comes out anymore. And that could affect the flow of the story. But yeah, it's just a possibility, and plus I'm sure there'll be twists and turns in the future to shake up the pacing in the right way. And the last thing is the hero's power system. I'll explain this more in good. It's a good power she has. It's just that if for any reason the laws of this power are broken, it's gonna be so bad. The good. The characters, specifically main girl over here, she fucking rocks. Like, she kicks ass, literally. She's the strong and competent type, which, as I mentioned, I cannot get enough of, really, and I like her a lot. I saw people online calling her the female Stain, and just know, okay, I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant. Stain's whole thing was that he didn't like fake heroes, heroes that were more interested with the fame and money that came from being a hero, rather than genuinely want to save people. I don't like Stain, nor his fucking holier thou bullshit ideology. Because I'm sorry, I'm not compelled to risk my life to save others without any form of reimbursement whatsoever. Like, I remember when everyone was falling at their feet at this man during the arc. I was like, oh my god, he's so compelling. I was like, Jesus, just die already. I cannot get on board with anything you're saying. Main girl, on the other hand, thankfully, is nothing like that. Her whole reason for hating heroes is far more personal. I'll get revenge for her sister, and that's just infinitely more gripping than some random ass nigga being angry that his idealistic worldviews are just that. Idealistic. Enough about Stain, back to main girl. Did I mention she kicks ass? Yeah. Good. Cause she does. She's well versed in hand-to-hand combat, trains well, and is smart as shit, evaluating the fight, her opponents, and the surroundings in order to think about the best possible course of action, which are skill sets that incredibly benefit her powers. Her power being to yoink your shit.
Don't even look comfortable in your own ends. Don't look comfortable. I'm around.
Yeah, all she needs to do, I think, is to physically touch somebody. It hasn't been explained, but visually, I think that's what it is. Or this weird thing needs to appear. It's only shown from like one page. I don't know what it is. Anyway, she touches you and boom. Mine now. This power clearly lays out the power escalation of our main character, because the stronger people she fights, the more strong she'll be. Although she can't use everything at once. She has like a limit to how many she can use at a time and for how long. And it's good because we know the rules. It's a hard magic system. So when she's backed up against a wall, she can't bust out any Super Saiyan bullshit we don't know she had. Although that does leave me with the question of why doesn't she go steal the villain's powers, which maybe she does after chapter 5. I haven't read past 7 or 8 because I've been making this video. Or maybe it's because people need to be fighting her. I don't know. Like I said, it hasn't been detailed yet, but we get the basic gist of it. So yeah, she's competent, strong, interesting, and I'm rooting for her. I'm sure she's got flaws, not like her being a bad character, but her being flawed as a person. I'm guessing one of them will be she gets hot-headed when she sees somebody like directly responsible for the death of her sister. And yeah, I'm all for that. Give me more of that. I'm interested. But apart from her though, all the other characters we've come across absolutely slap. This is thanks to their unique designs and the way they act. You've got the mentor guy who's straight out of Bloodborne, big ass woman with an even with an even bigger sword. Mr. I smell a scent. Harley Quinn and Edgy McShadow Man. I know I know it seems like I'm talking shit about them, but I'm not. These are some memorable ass characters, and I can't wait to find out more about them. The world. I'm really interested to find out what happened to this world. The villain hero war, what the civilian views and heroes are, what other heroes think about the quote bad heroes, the ones that are basically villains in positions of power. Because please don't make every hero in this story a piece of shit. That's not how it works. You know, they're good and bad. If everyone had power, there will still be good people. I want to see if main character girl ever draws a line with one of the villains, because she's like, although I don't care about good and bad, I'm just out here for revenge. You're going a bit too far. I want to see if she's going to team up with heroes. There's so much potential in this. So yeah, that's my review for these 3 stories. The star, I'm sure as you can guess it, is going to go to Hero Killer. Because yeah, Hero Killer is the best out of the lots. It got me hooked. The MC is compelling as hell, and it's got so much potential that I really hope it can live up to. Alright, thank you. Bye!